Have you ever experienced deep hurt or betrayal? You know, it's one thing to have a friend or coworker betray you, but what about your spouse? The one who promised to be faithful and to love and cherish you forever. My friend, if you have experienced betrayal of any kind, I want you to know that you are not alone. I have walked through these dark waters for many years and want you to know that there is hope, healing, and even reconciliation available. And so today I want to begin a conversation about navigating betrayal and how to begin the healing process. I also want you to know that I have a free resource available starting May 18th through the 20th. I'm honored to be one of 40 speakers for the 2023 Wives of Integrity free online conference. There are going to be over 40 topics on marriage to help you grow in your communication, your finances, your intimacy, your relationship issues, so much all concerning marriage. And we're not meant to journey this alone. And so I want to give you free access to this online event. And I will have the link in the show notes. And you can always message me directly at lori@loriksnyder.com. Or if you go on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, you can find me at Lori, K-A-Y Snyder. And then just text me or message me the word wives, and I will know to send you that free link. And so I am going to be doing a workshop where I go into more of a deeper dive, where I'm going to be talking about healing from betrayal in marriage, finding grace, faith, and reconciliation. And I'm going to go into a more in-depth on how to heal from all kinds of betrayal in marriage and what steps do you need to take to move through that pain and work towards rebuilding trust, towards reconciliation. And I also have a workbook that I make available in the teaching, and that goes into even more depth and to help you heal your broken heart and rebuild that trust and the steps that you can take. And so there's going to be 3 steps really that are key, but then really, you know me, I give a lot more information than just 3 plain steps. But anyway, if you would love to join thousands of wives around the world who want to experience all that God has for them in the marriage, please go to the show notes, go into that link, and it will give you a free access ticket to that. So you might be saying, well, I'm not married, Lori. Well, if you want to be married, this is still a great resource. It will help prepare you, but I guarantee you, you know someone who is. And if they're a wife, I would love for you to share this podcast with them, share them the link so that way they can be equipped and encouraged, because marriage is being attacked more than ever. And so we want to do all that we can to help people have the skills, the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom to walk this out. But what I'm going to talk about today in this episode is really giving you a more of an overview of what are the different types of betrayal. You know, we think of betrayal as sexual betrayal, especially in marriage, but it comes in many forms, not just sexual infidelity. So I'm going to talk about that today, and then also give you a little sneak peek of what's inside my workshop and what do I talk about to help you grow and heal. All right, so grab a pen and paper and let's get started. Welcome to Created to Thrive. I'm your host, Lori Snyder. If you desire a deeper connection with God, want to know your value and purpose, then you, my friend, are in the right place. I will teach God's Word in a simple and practical way to equip and empower you to become who He created you to be, because you were created to thrive.
Want to go deeper in your faith even while you're on the go? No matter how busy the season you're in, Access More has a library of faith-based podcasts to help you grow spiritually. With podcasts from Christian thought leaders such as Christine Kane, Lisa Harper, Taryn Wells, and Bob Goff, you can hear podcasts on religion, culture, family, entertainment, and so much more. Access More gives you a safe space to find inspiring conversations about faith. Start listening today at accessmore.com.
All right, friends. So if you have been betrayed or you know someone that has, first of all, let me just say, I am so sad that you are going through this or have gone through this. I know the devastation of what it's like to have trust be broken, for your heart to be shattered, your whole world to be turned upside down. And if you've listened to my podcast before, you know I've shared my redemption story that, God did do a miracle in my marriage. But 17 years ago, my husband and I were separated and had filed for divorce. And it looked like our marriage was done. In fact, there was nothing left to it. Our marriage had to really die because of betrayal. There was a lot of different betrayal. There was sexual infidelity, there was emotional infidelity, pornography addiction, alcohol addiction, just a lot of stuff that we had to walk through. And I don't want to focus on my story today, but you can go back and listen to previous episodes on that. But God did do a miracle in our marriage. And so I want to share how to heal from that deep pain, the heartbreak and trauma that you experience, whether it's in your marriage or it's from a work environment. I've had coworkers betray me. I've had people in ministry betray me. I've had family members betray me, and definitely friends betray me. So it's something that we cannot get away from because of the human condition that we have. So I want to help you move through this pain, come out the better person on that other side, and really experience a transformation in your own life, and especially if it's your marriage. So I want to encourage you that this pain does not define you or your future. And what you're going through, you're going through. You've got to know that all things are possible with God for those who believe. So I want to just today do a highlight on what is the betrayal and what type of forms is it? And then also give you a sneak peek into some of my workshop. All right. So betrayal can come in many forms, not just sexual infidelity. And there are many non-sexual forms of betrayal that can be just as damaging. And I'm going to focus specifically on marriage for the sake of this conversation, but it does affect every area, whether you're single or not. But I just want to give you these examples so you can become self-aware and possibly experience healing if these have happened to you. So from a marriage perspective, I'm going to share this. Emotional attachments, like a coworker, a neighbor, someone in a small group. When the emotional involvement with someone else replaces the emotional connection that you should have with your partner, is betrayal. Where they're giving them that attention. They're sharing their heart with them and not with you. Even though there hasn't been anything sexual, physically done as far as infidelity-wise, there's that emotional attachment that is a form of betrayal. And that can be just as devastating. Another one is financial infidelity, such as gambling, undisclosed credit card debt or loans, secret bank accounts, especially if someone has their own business. And I have been mentoring women for over 15 years, and I found that this has happened several times. That is just devastating. They feel like they have been betrayed because their husband did not share with them the bank accounts, would not share passwords with them to their 401k or their retirement funds or whatever, or especially if they had their own business. They had a whole nother source of income that their wives were not privy to. And so there were a lot of secrets being had or being made. Pornography or sexual addiction, going to strip clubs. I have walked through with people that husbands had escort services. They had massages that were not a typical massage, if you know what I mean. So that does get into the sexual, it can, but it also could be non-touch. So that is just as devastating. And I'm sorry if this is a hard topic, but we've got to talk about these hard things. And I kept silent for way too long. And my husband was addicted to pornography. My dad brought pornography into my home when I was a child. And so that was something I grew up with. And I didn't realize how devastating it was, especially because I had molestation in my life from neighbors, from my friends' older brothers had molested me as a child, and then having pornography in the house, it really messed with my identity and then formed an anxious attachment style for me. And so when I found out my husband was addicted to pornography, it really just sent such a core message to my heart that I was devalued. I was not wanted. So there's so much around that. I don't want to get off into that today, but I know the deep hurt of having an addiction, a sexual addiction that affects you, even though there was not per se a physical person involved, there still was that betrayal. Work or something that is their vocation, that is a higher priority in you. And I had to walk through this with my husband for a while because he was trying to find his identity early in our marriage through his work, through trying to climb the corporate ladder. And one day I just said to him, I said, your work is your mistress, and I feel betrayed. I feel like you give out more of yourself through your work than you do when you come home. And also, too, emotionally unavailable. If they're cold or detached, I've gone through that several times in my marriage. And that can feel just as devastating as if they had someone else physically in their life, just being unemotionally available. They're there in their presence, physical presence, but emotionally or in their mind, they are far from you. Wives of pastors or traveling ministers, I have walked through this a lot with them in the past, where the church or the ministry is more of a priority than their marriage. And it becomes like super spiritual, like I'm doing this as a higher calling, but they're devaluing their marriage. And they'll say, well, I'm married to the church. No, you're first married to your wife. God is your first priority, then your wife, then your children, then your vocation. That means even the church. Some other non-sexual infidelity or betrayal would be drug or alcohol addiction, chronic lying, disrespect, devaluing you or putting you down, such as gaslighting. And I've walked through this with a lot of people that have narcissistic relationships, and they're constantly being put down and devalued, and they start to think that they're going crazy, and they try to do more and more and more to find value with their partner. And it can be devastating. It can feel so much like betrayal. And then also withholding or rejecting physical intimacy with your spouse for long periods of time. That can also be betrayal. All of it goes back to there's not that deep connection that marriage is intended for. And when we experience this, it's a very personal process, and it can be very complex. There can be a lot of childhood trauma that gets carried into marriage. I mean, that was my situation, and countless people that I coach and have mentored all over through the years, that we have to deal with these traumatic experiences. We have to talk about these hard issues because it's robbing us from the life that God intends for us. So those are just some of the topics that I want to or forms of betrayal that I wanted you to become aware of. And then let's talk about real quick, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the step 1 in my workshop. Because healing from betrayal, like I said, can be very complex, but it definitely is very personal, and it's not a formula. And What I have found is this is from my own life, from going through my own journey, and then also, mentoring and coaching countless people for the past 15 years. So what I give in my workshop is practical tools and strategy for working through the challenges of healing your broken heart, finding forgiveness, and rebuilding trust. So let's just go with the step one. And again, this is such a brief overview. I go more in depth in my teaching in that free workshop that I have with the link that is in the show notes. So the first step is getting honest with your emotional pain and then finding safe support. And it all starts with self-awareness. If you're not aware of what your emotional needs are, you're just going to spin and you're going to stay stuck, or you're going to try to go into a fix-it mode versus a processing mode. So I go into more detail on that. And then finding support. How do you find the safe person? How do you find the counselor or the therapist or the coach to help navigate these deep waters? You cannot do this alone. You have to have community, and you have to have the right people that are going to be for you and not judge you, not criticize you, not point the fingers, not condemn. So I talk more about that in detail. And then also, how do you grieve? We have to grieve that betrayal. And we're not taught as a society how to grieve. We discount grieving. We want to move quickly onto it and then fix the problem and move on. Well, that doesn't serve you. So I talk about the grieving process. And then also importantly, I talk about self-care. You actually need to put yourself first in getting the help and healing to deal with your emotional pain, to identify your strong emotions. What do you need to feel safe right now? Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, relationally. So I go into that. And then, like I said, I have a workbook that goes through exercises to give you practical tools and strategies to implement this, to help you move through that pain and identify what does your heart need right now to thrive. And so, friend, if that is something that you're interested in, go to my link that I have in the show notes. If you have questions, please reach out to me. I would love to answer your questions. I don't want you going through this alone. Shame will keep you in the shadows. And I don't want you living there, because I lived there for way too many lives, especially in the Christian circles. If I talk about this, they're going to condemn me. They're going to judge me. I'm going to feel so horrible. No, you've got to get it out into the open, but with safe person or safe people. Very few. And I talk more about that in depth in the workshop. All right, friends. So today, if you would share this with a friend that needs this encouragement, that needs these practical tools to help them through this process of grieving and healing and rebuilding trust, I would appreciate it so much. So I'm going to share in the next couple episodes of little more into this workshop to give you an overview of what I do in this betrayal workshop. All right. Until next time, you were created to thrive. God bless.